9-6 zoning and development code administration amendments, 9-1-7 condition for granting amendments, 8-1-2 subdivision administration amendments. It's a long sentence. That's a long sentence.
Shouldn't do that anymore.
Okay. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, please proceed to the microphone and state your name and mailing address for the record. The hearing is required by law to be recorded. Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. A, prior to the public hearing, a determination will be made of the qualifications of the council members and allow for challenges from the audience. I will open the public hearing with the staff report. The purpose of the staff report at this point is to further identify the applicable criteria of the case being considered and provide background information about the case. Next, there will be testimony from the proponents, those persons in favor of the application. Next, next there will be testimony from the opponents, those not in favor of the application. And next, there will be testimony from anyone else who wishes to offer testimony or ask questions. Then, to honor the right of rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. To expedite the hearing, the council members may ask questions of persons as they testify. When this process has been concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are a complete set of rules, procedures, and criteria we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the council members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detail specific enough to allow the city to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in the circuit court. Fourth, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states the council must grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for a period of at least 7 days. These are the rules. Are there any questions? Okay. So, go around the room on this. Have any members of the council had any ex parte contacts, conflicts of interest, or bias which would prevent you from rendering an impartial decision on this matter? Maria?
No one did.
Jesse?
She said she'd call back. She was driving.
Jesse? I can hear you. Okay. Richard? Berlin?
I have a potential conflict of interest because I have family that owns property near a potential rezoning. Also, those family members own Echo Ridge Cellars.
Thank you, Berlin. And then will that prevent you from rendering an impartial decision on this matter?
No.
Okay. Janie?
I have a statement to make. Because I serve as both a member of the Echo Cemetery District Board and the Echo City Council, I disclose a potential conflict of interest. Both positions are unpaid and involve service to public entities funded through taxes and fees. In each role, I am committed to acting in the best interest of the public and representing the residents and taxpayers of the city of Echo. I do not place private interest above public. In light of my dual service and to avoid any appearance of impropriety, whatever, I will participate only to provide factual information about the Historic Cemetery District for public record and will abstain from deliberation and voting.
So, okay, that answers my question. And
I didn't
then,
have any talk with anybody though.
that's fine.
Yeah.
No, I got it. And so you'll be, according to your statement, you will not be voting or discussing, correct?
Well, just if I need to add some factual information.
Then you will, but
But that's it.
otherwise, okay, so you're recusing yourself from most discussion and voting. So thank you, Janie. And I have none, no conflicts of interest, bias, or ex parte contacts. So, does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of any members of the council? Yes.
Cynthia Esponte, mailing PO Box 3, Echo, Oregon. In regards to Councilwoman Berlin Anderson, I am challenging that due to a conflict of interest, in which, as far as I know, is as far as an investigation, and how that will, the outcome of that, how it will affect the decision and what, predicament that might put the city council in by allowing individual what the result of that is. So that's just mine.
So you're stating she's not qualified to participate?
Well, I believe until after investigations are concluded, my understanding, if they have already concluded, there's been, assessed from the ethics committee. That's all. Just
Okay, hang on. Is that Dave? Berlin will respond to you.
I spoke with the ethics commission today, the individual who is investigating me. He said at this point, it's just a potential conflict of interest and that I can vote and I can be involved in all of this.
And then, so the investigation, I think it's still
He said
ongoing.
that since I've always declared my potential conflict of interest, every land use hearing, that it is just still potential, and I've declared and I've done all I was supposed to do to participate from then till now. So moving forward, it's the same as how it was, even though you did file ethics commission complaint against me. He said that's also not public knowledge, it's confidential,
Okay.
and so
But you said potential, so.
potential, so potential.
For my
So
understanding,
potential,
for my understanding,
I'm running the meeting. Thank you. According to the rules, a potential is not a disqualification. So we cannot disqualify Counselor Anderson on her potential, just as we did not qualify previous councilwoman Williams for her potential. So.
but you can see the difference there, right?
No, that's.
One, actually, exactly, so you can see that how they took themselves out of the equation. But I'm just stating that as, but, all right.
Well, thanks for your statement.
Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
If you want to get a hold of the person you filed with, we're probably happy to talk to you and explain to you why I'm not to.
Well,
Perfect.
yes. Do you wish to challenge the qualifications of a council member?
You can say 3229 Marble Street. I'd like to start with Janie. I don't see any personal conflict with her.
That's not what we're discussing. We're asking, are you wishing to challenge the qualifications of any
I'm
members?
checking.
But that's not what this is about. I'm sorry, but we can't allow that.
Say, Cindy, there is some, depending on what we're doing, some conflict.
Thank you.
And my partial statement. I would like to say, due to my dual status, I will not participate in particular discussion of the proposed change of rezoning the Echo Cemetery to residential. I am, however, prepared to exercise my duty as a representative of the Echo taxpayers by casting my vote on proposed zoning changes based on the merits of the evidence and the amount of public interest with complete integrity and partiality. And that is what my first thing said.
Okay,
I
so
would just
then
say
you're
I have
withdrawing
a
the,
right to
okay, so you're withdrawing your recusal of your voting privilege.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Jane. That's fine. I don't disagree with you at all. Any counselors have anything to say on these matters? So we're all in agreement that Councilwoman Anderson and Councilwoman Enright may participate. Okay, so I guess from what I'm hearing from everyone is that we're fine with that and we shall move forward as we always have. Okay, thank you. Okay, so at this time, I'll open the public hearing. May we have the staff report?
So we put up last week, earlier last week, the updated kind of revised drafts that not a lot of changes have been made. There's been some cleanup. There's been some verbiage. Chapter 2, you'll notice 2.3, 2.7 were added for commercial residential back in. Public use section, there's language in there now to match the proposed zoning. For those zonings that were so controversial and whatever, at this point, we decided just to kind of get that language back in there. So residential commercial down Bridge, residential commercial down Sprague. The only question I have and the planner has is on the fire station, because my recollection was during multiple of the meetings, the fire station being on Main Street it's on Main Street, and nobody seemed to have any issues with it being zoned commercial because it's fire district. But then there was some discussions, but no decision made on changing it back to public use. So I just wanted to clarify that when you guys have a discussion on that piece there for Carl and I. Otherwise, that would keep downtown commercial, both sides of the street. And then the residential commercial on the backside, and keeping the church the way it was and keeping everything the way it was. Moving forward on those zones. And then the language, the development code language to go with those two zones. We went through and made some updates on a few of on the comprehensive plan, which apparently I forgot to print today. But on chapter 7, section 4, where it talks about we put that on the website. I just forgot to print it today. I apologize.
We have it in our.
You have it in your pack, your emails, but at the end of the day, where it talks about where we don't have any liability, but that we acknowledge that there's a merit risk being by the canals, but we pretty much verbatim use what patron Kim Fife proposed. Her language is what we went with. I think verbatim on that, and put that back in there. Insurance wasn't too excited about it, but they didn't want to make a ruling, so they stayed out of it. And then the planners didn't have it either, didn't matter either way to them. So we put that back in, so hopefully that will appease folks, that's in there. It's not being neglected. And then just some cleanup throughout the document. These documents aren't the final documents, obviously. There's still some wordsmithing that needs to be done, and one of the things that we'll do between now and February 10th, if you guys move this forward to an ordinance for a first reading in February, then we'll go back through, polish it up, clean it up, and make sure that it all flows like it's supposed to. It seems like it does now, but we want to make sure that there are any other things that we've missed for a final document. And again, if there's something that comes up during the ordinance conversations that can be amended during that process, once we get through the process, then we have to start over the hearing. Then we'd have to start all over again once you get through the ordinance, because then it becomes law. So, but again, you guys, if that goes through, then it's a first reading in February, then it's 30 more days before it, and then it's before basically the next meeting, before would be voted, would become law. And then it would be put on the website and put on there, and we'd get all the rules and update everything in our system as well at that point. So that's kind of the process on how that. And then the zoning map, I'm gonna back up here to the zoning map. So this is a draft, and we are well overspent on this project. So we spent all the grant money, got the grant money back, and we've spent nearly over half of that again on this project, and GIS is very expensive. So I apologize for chicken scratch map, but this is what we decided to do until we have a final agreeing on the zoning map, so we don't have to pay the GIS folks lots and lots of money to go in and fix it again. Again, the only question we had was the fire department. As you can see, that public use is the golf course, cemetery, all 5 lots at the school. And so, then we had the fire district on there because that was a question that we had, but, on that one. But other than that, we kind of went back to those to kind of clean those up so they're all the same. I think the cemetery might end up running into some problems when they annex in the other property with that, zoning, but, I won't be here for that, and I think that's an issue for another day. Because that's not been annexed in, so there's no way to know if that's gonna end up being a problem or not, but it was brought up to me by the planning department, by the planners, that could be problematic. As far as the zoning, considering in the urban growth boundary, so it would have to go through a process. It would be its own hearing process anyway, so. But for now, that's not annexed in, so it's just the current cemetery, so it stay the same zoning, and there's language for it. Where before, we didn't have any public use language development code, at least now we have some criteria to work within, or the city does, moving forward in those
Yeah.
areas.
I read that, and it looks like that in the public use, if they decide to do anything on the grounds or change what's currently being done, then it has to go through the conditional use permit process. So if you want to build a shed, it's got to be a conditional use permit.
Correct. Yep.
Build a parking lot, and it's conditional use permit, but with like full condition.
That's the way I understood it.
And I got the little thing from Pioneer Title that Anderson and Perry did. The original cemetery drops down below, the furnished ditch. And they're gonna have to, according to their survey, so there's a lot of things to consider.
Well, I think you have
In
some,
one corner.
I don't know that this is the appropriate place for that, because that sounds like there's a landowner issue there, that you guys are gonna have to figure out, because I'm pretty sure that another entity has that as a tax lot, so you're gonna have to figure that out.
Anderson and Perry and-
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be.
That's not dealing with this, that's not part of this, so. That's gonna be between the cemetery district and the landowners, so.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else, Dave?
No, I think that you guys have a pretty good document here. I mean, it's gone through a lot. I've been working on this 2 years today. So I think it's a pretty good document, kind of weeded out a lot of the concerns. Is it perfect? No. Is it gonna be perfect? No, no plan is. But I think it's better than it was. It gets the city in compliance with especially with the residential zones. That's where we're seriously out of compliance. And so those areas there, that will clean that up and kind of get the city off that radar. And I'm gonna guess that because of how passionate folks got with this through this process, that I would hope that the city would entertain looking at this a lot sooner than 20 years or 30 years. I would really hope that 5 years, 10 years tops, that they revisit this and don't allow it to get that far out of whack and cause this much stress for folks, kind of work it through and maybe work it through in sections.
Yeah.
So that would be a suggestion I have for future councils and future staff.
And that's been suggested by the public as well, put things that need review on.
I totally concur, because it costs a lot of money to do these. What people don't realize is the cost to do public hearings and the cost to do these things. There is a financial burden to the city. And so making good use of those is definitely a recommended choice. You guys obviously now and in the future will have to make those decisions, but that's definitely something I've learned in this process. This is not a cheap process financially, and can be rather passionate, I guess. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Dave on the staff report? All right. So at this point, we will take testimony, and same rules apply as all the previous ones. So does anyone wish to testify in favor of the application? Does anybody wish to testify in opposition to the application? Yes, Gina?
You can say 23229 Market Street. I'm not sure if you guys are still considering the changing of the zoning, and that's my main issue right now.
Would you speak into the mic, please?
Okay, I'm not sure if you guys are still considering the changing of the zoning, but that is my main issue right now.
Which zoning is in particular?
Cemetery and the school.
No. It's proposed to keep it as public use.
Is that where we're at now?
That's what I just said.
Okay, I want to make
That's-
sure.
That's what I put on the map for you guys to look at on the internet, that where it says,
I haven't been on the internet, so last meeting we went to, it was, you guys were considering changing. Okay, so that was the main thing I had to talk about, my main issue, and I don't know if I should even bring this up, but I'm going to, and you're probably telling me to be quiet because I know how it works, but I want to bring up the grant from last council meeting that should never have been.
Yeah, that's not part
Without
of the
an
public
attorney.
hearing. That will have to be addressed at the city council meeting.
Okay,
That's not of this, that doesn't match this.
I just want you to know I had an attorney look at it. They thought it should have been done without more.
But we'll talk about it then, or you can, make an appointment with Dave to talk with him about it. Well, if it becomes on the agenda, then it'll be on the agenda as a regular city council meeting, but this is a public hearing about the comprehensive plan, not about grants, so. Okay, so anybody else wish to testify in opposition to the application? Okay. Does anyone wish to testify that are not in favor? Or in opposition, or that would like to ask questions?
We're talking about the zoning. Right now, we're just.
No, we're just, the public has their opinion, their opportunity to speak at this time. Okay. And since we had nobody in favor, we don't have to readdress that need. So, okay, so now we're on to counselor discussion. Is there, I guess the only thing really up for, we've already, okay, so I'm hoping you guys had a chance to peruse the email that Dave sent, make sure that the changes and things that we had discussed got changed to our side, that we had agreed upon in previous meetings got changed. I think the wording, Dave brought up the wording in 7, and that's exactly as I recall that. I went through it today, and the language on fence height, if it needs to be over 6 feet, then you get a permit to do that. Things like that, that's all what we talked about. The word changes got changed in the comp plan, is instead of promote, it says encourage or whatever, you know, we've had a few of those. So as far as I'm concerned, it looks like everything pretty well got addressed.
Question on
Yes.
this map where you have here a permanent open space and then it crossed out the permanent and just got put public use.
No, it's the permanent, it's just
I mean,
open space. is what
okay.
it- Is what it is.
Well, the
Okay,
word
you're
permanent
correct.
is gonna be taken out completely.
I have to find out if she crossed that out on accident or what, because I think it's called open space. I don't know. I think there's a different term. It's gonna still end up being the same. It's the same definition.
You know,
It's not changing any zoning. It's not changing anything. It's staying the same.
And then public
I'll
use.
ask her on that one. I saw that too, and I thought, well, maybe that was just, she was writing a line there to go underneath there, but she wrote through there, and I'll ask her that question. But I didn't interpret that as that we weren't changing anything, because we didn't change any of the language or anything. We left it as open space.
And then the public use, we've added back in to the map, to address the fact that we weren't changing any of the zones. Leaving those all the same. And then the residential, commercial, are getting brought back.
Are they combined
And-
now or separate?
No, they're combined. We're just bringing that back, the language back because it had been removed from the committee. And then we all decided, that we wanted it not to, address the zoning because it was too hot of a topic. So if we need to address zoning in the future, we can do it on a case-by-case basis.
I'm stating on the map, they have them separate. They have residential and commercial. They don't have them combined.
What they do, so you have a residential and you have a commercial zone, but she's adding in
The
the
residential.
residential commercial, and that would be, if you look downtown where the circles are, the ovals, those would become residential. Those
They
are
go back.
staying residential, commercial. So now on the map, they're showing commercial, but they're going to, on the final map, show residential, commercial, like they were before.
But separate, I just didn't know.
Correct. And last meeting, we had discussed, I recall us discussing everything that fronts Main Street being commercial. And we had an agreement on that, I thought. And you being on the fire board or fire committee or being involved in the fire department didn't seem to think that they would have an issue with just being zoned commercial. So
I was just thinking of the street that the people were worried about the zoning.
that's the streets behind Main Street.
Sprague and Bridge.
Sprague and Bridge.
Yeah, that's what's being put back the way it was.
Yeah.
That's what this map says. So
So,
that's why it's circled. I didn't have it redone because
Okay.
I didn't want to spend a couple of grand doing it till we got it done. So.
yeah.
I understand.
No, that's very good, and it is kind of confusing because it's not an exact map, but to go in there and manipulate make all those changes is quite a process, so. So you guys are good with telling Dave to have Carl draw the map with everything that fronts Main Street being commercial? The only change that would include would be for the fire, everything else is already commercial.
Are we counting the houses that are on Main Street?
They're already zoned commercial. Jesse, your thoughts on? Just commercial,
Just commercial, so they've always been that way.
correct.
Except for the Sprague and on Sprague and around the corner where the old gas station is, that's all part of the going back the way it was. And all
Yeah.
up and down bridge, all the way down from Mike's down here to the end, that's all going back the way it was.
Yeah, all of
What
that
is it?
stuff. that-
Never changed, it's just going back to the map.
Yeah, the only change would be to make everything that fronts Main Street be
Well, really,
commercial. And the
change.
only property that would affect would be the fire.
What about the H&P? It's always been residential, commercial. I mean,
No, it's always been commercial.
Commercial.
You can live in commercial, you can live in a commercial building. That's not a problem. Their living quarters are downstairs. Yeah, and that's common. A lot in Pendleton, they have living quarters downstairs and they have living quarters up above. So, yeah, that's normal. The two houses that are on Main Street, you know, the Chevelle's, Phyllis and Mike's.
Yeah,
That's a business.
And that's, well, it's it's kind of a business, it's their house. I mean, it's,
yeah.
so, yeah, and those have always been commercial since the beginning of time. The only thing is in the 80s, they changed the back half of the block to residential commercial.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, if we're keeping it same, people want to keep it same, I don't see why that's.
We don't
She would.
okay, so very good. So,
Yeah,
everybody else in agreement with that?
Okay, I was just thinking about the two houses, there's an apartment house on Main Street, and there's two houses there towards the. They're all-
There's RV parks on Main Street. Those are all zoned commercial, and they operate under a conditional use permit.
So is that the place that one of the houses on Main Street burned down? That they can't rebuild then? Because
Well, they can rebuild, it's just commercial.
Commercial, I thought that.
No, that's, you're thinking.
We're not changing anything. We're just putting it right back the way it was. That, the way it is today is the way it is tomorrow.
No, that's
I'm
the way
not
they've
changing,
always-
we're leaving it as the map was changed. We're not changing, we're just changing back to the map that they had from the eighties. The way you wanted it. that's
So
what
then
it did.
let's just make all that, let's just make the fire hall be commercial.
Because fire hall will be the only change.
It's the only change, and it's the only thing on there that's not zoned commercial, so. And that's a permitted use in a commercial zone, so it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
At the last workshop, we could ask questions. Are we able to ask questions?
no, this is not a workshop, this is a public hearing. Yeah. Sorry. Anything else? I think that addresses your concerns, correct, Dave?
What was just a question here?
Yeah, or question, addresses your question. Anybody else have any?
So these are the changes that will be made.
No. Those aren't changes, those are leaving
as
it,
is.
those are leaving it as it is currently, yes. It's just notes to Carla when she goes to draw the map in the GIS system,
Yeah, it's somebody contacted.
to leave it that way, because there's been a lot of discussion back and forth, we decided not to change those, so.
I missed the last two meetings, but last meeting I was at in September, I thought we were all on board with leaving everything the way it was. Okay. So
Yeah, this is just, everything that's on this map right now has got the zoning that was proposed, and so now we're
Yeah.
undoing all of the proposed and
and that's
putting it
why I
back.
made the notes.
Yep. Everything's going back the way it was. What updated language, of course, so it can actually, public use especially since it had no language.
Right. Okay, so anything else? Okay, then is the council ready for a motion?
Pass this?
Yeah, to move this to an ordinance.
Is it just the ordinance or?
No, it's the whole shoot match. Because the map part goes, the map. Okay, so. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so Richard has made a motion to approve the comprehensive plan, the, codes, and the zoning map. And, Jesse has seconded. Berlin, your vote? Jesse, your vote?
Yes.
Richard, your vote?
Yes.
Janie, your vote?
Yes.
Maria, your vote?
No.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses and 1 no. The motion carries. Okay, so Richard, you're up.
I move.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned. Oh, fine.